Hi everyone, it's Simon here with a review of Arise, A Simple Story. It's the PlayStation 4 version I bought, so that's what you see on your screens. I bought the deluxe version, which comes with the soundtrack as well, which is highly recommended if you can afford it. It's available also on Xbox One and PC. Arise, A Simple Story has genuinely surprised me and taken my breath away in some moments of its gameplay. It's a gorgeous, beautiful game to play, where the story merged with the graphics, the way how the gameplay mechanics really play into the heart and emotions of the player, as well as the surrealistic interpretations of feelings and emotions on the screen, and a soundtrack that swells and teppers away as you play through. It just merges together to make this game, quite frankly, up there with your Journeys, your Grisses, your Rhymes of this last generation or so, and last couple of years. And it's one of those most thoughtful platformers, and it also reminds me in a way of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and that is one of my all-time favourite games. So to give it that level of praise out of the gate, I'm very happy to do so. And if you want to stop the review here and go and pick up and buy the title, I genuinely think that you will not regret it. However, if you do want to learn more about what's going on and what my thoughts on the game are, continue on. This game sees you start off as, in the opening cutscene, as your main character being cremated, almost like a Viking burial where you're placed on sticks and then set on fire. It was just missing being floated out to sea. And I was like, oh, oops. And then your character wakes up essentially trapped between the life and death in the afterworld in the clouds. And each of the 10 levels is you basically replaying over memories or certain moments of your life over again in a surrealistic way for you to then platform, adventure your way through, and kind of reconcile that emotion or gravitas moment in your life in your brain before you kind of move off into the afterlife and the world beyond. Now, with that comes lots of emotional baggage, and each level will deal with that in turn. So in the beginning, it's about just learning yourself and learning what you are in the world. Then you'll meet your lady friend and companion that the man will fall in love with. Very quickly, you'll run into drama and heartache and loss, and then have to deal with these different stages of emotion, of being back on your own again, dealing with your own inner demons, and then hopefully ending on a bit more of a hopeful note towards the end of the game. Each level has a gameplay mechanic that is altered and changed for each level as you go through, and I'll try and explain this. So you control your main character, the guy with the left analog stick, to move around, X to jump, I'm playing on PlayStation 4, and square to use your lasso, which is good for pulling down trees to make bridges, and swinging across vines and so on and so forth to make further ledges away. However, with each level, you also have the ability to shift time with the right analog stick, and it's this that was the big invention for me in Arise, and continued to wow me in different ways and surprise me as well in different ways that they use it. So in the very beginning level, it's around rising, and it changes the seasons essentially, and that changes the level of sea water in the world, because if it's raining in the winter, then in spring, then that raises the water level. But if it's snowing, then sometimes that will raise some of the levels on the ground because the snow's risen something higher, and that might let you get to different platforms. And that's all well and good, and I kind of was like, oh cool, that's a cool mechanic, really going to enjoy playing with that. But each level then changes that mechanic to do something different. So level 2, it's around the sun moving across the sky because you're playing with time. But what that does is change how all the plants look in the direction towards the sun. Obviously, quantum must photosynthesizing. So that then lines up platforms in a way that then means that you need to manipulate the time back and forth so that the tilt of the flowers, and particularly in the sunflowers towards the end of that level, you're building your own bridges because you're moving the sun around as you go. And I was like, cool. Then level 3 came, and then this was where I was like, okay, they really do understand ingenious level design, because very minor spoiler here. So level 3 is all about separation and being pulled apart from your loved one, and so the entire level is basically being ripped apart. And what you're doing is moving back and forth in time with this rift of the world deconstructing and falling apart. So you might need to push everything back together again at the beginning of the rift to be able to jump over things, but then you might need to pull apart something to be able to have a boulder or like a piece of collapsing bridge from above fall down. You then pause it, jump on, and then reverse time to get back up again. And I was so blown away with this, and there was one particular moment where a boulder smashes through the bridge that you're on, and I was like, well, how do I get over that? And I was asking the wrong question, because it was actually about how I needed to move forward. And you need to jump on the boulder and then reverse time and kind of run on the boulder as you're going backwards, because it's pushing you forward into the foreground of the level for you to then run forward. And I'll put some footage on whilst this is going through so it doesn't make quite so much hypothetical sense. And I was just like, wow, amazing. And then each level, it just changes up what you can do with this, and kept me on my toes, because the levels are about 20 to 30 minutes per go across the 10 levels, and there are collectibles that need to be found as well, and they give you single hand painted screens that are memories for you to collect. You can go around and find all of those. The levels are relatively linear, but sometimes when you see a breaching path, or you can see something you're like, oh, I'll just creep around the back of that, that's where you'll find the memories. So it's worthwhile kind of searching around. Each of those 10 levels, it changes up this right stick mechanic to do something new with the same kind of effect. So it feels familiar but always different, and changing things up, and it changes your approach to each level as you go. And that's why it reminds me of Brother: A Tale of Two Sons, because what that game done was it constantly had the co-op gameplay mechanics, which incidentally you can do co-op in Arise: A Tale of Arise: A Tale of Two Sons, Arise: A Simple Story. But I've not tried co-op, but it is available. But what it done in the Brothers game was use a mechanic like once for a specific puzzle section, and then that was it, and it didn't really go back to it again, and it kept on doing new things revolving around that same central theme. This game does exactly the same type of thing, because it doesn't necessarily go back and retread old ground. It changes things up as you go from level to level, and I can't place more value on that to keep you on your toes and to keep you invested in stuff, particularly when you've got swelling music or like really, really sad little piano unfurlings as you're going across stuff. And the cutscenes are beautiful and the graphics are gorgeous, and it just it's beautiful. For those of you who may be slightly worried that there isn't much in terms of quote-unquote gameplay here, this is a full-fledged platforming game. The platforming does feel a little bit rubbery in places, but it's quite forgiving in the way how if you say fall off and then go into the water and drown, or fall off the edge of a cliff or whatever, it's very quick. You don't lose much ground, essentially, is what I'm trying to say, for the respawn point. So it's quite forgiving in that way, which I really appreciated, because occasionally there was some perspective things, especially when you're jumping into the foreground and back again. Think of if you're going back to play some of the old Crash games, I think we've kind of got a slightly unused to perspective in going forward and backwards and stuff, and this game relies on that in some really, really tricky scenarios. So there's a little bit of trial and error, but you kind of get the gist of it, and it's quite forgiving. And that's really the only down point that I have about the game at all, is that it's a bit woolly sometimes on its platforming. However, in terms of an actual gaming experience, I was absolutely blown away, and I highly recommend Arise. This is up there with some of my most favourite games of 2019, and potentially of this generation. I'm just going back and replaying some of the levels again, because each level comes with a trophy that's attached to a challenge, as well as just playing through the story itself. So once I've got all of those, I'll kind of be sitting and thinking and lamenting. You can tell where the story is going from the very opening scene. You know it's going to rip you to shreds, but it doesn't matter because you have such an amazing time along the way, and it's so well put together that I don't mind being emotionally decimated by the end of the game. And yeah, go buy. Thank you so much for watching. If you do have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you on them. I'm currently rebuilding higherplayinggames.com to deal with YouTube and Copa plus 2020. Hopefully that comment will age really poorly and we won't be in a problem. But once that's all up and running, I'll be doing a written review also on higherplayinggames.com. So thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a collection of media projects ran by me. If you like what you see and want to find out more, visit patreon.com/Higher Plane Network. Your support can make so much more possible, be that a like, a comment, a share, or a pledge. Thanks for watching.